And I'm going to start the first question. What I believe, sis, you're the only female on the panel. Now, I have invited a number of other young ladies to join us, so I'm just assuming that they're probably a little late, and they'll be coming shortly. So if they come, they can just jump right into the discussion. But with that, I'm going to start with you. Certainly, you I know you're on Facebook. I know you have your own organization for teenage females, correct?
Incorrect.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
The organization is called Shauna's House Incorporated.
Okay. And
one aspect of Shauna's House is teen mentoring for boys and girls ages 13 to 18.
Okay, great. However, you do come in contact, obviously, with females, teenagers, male or female, whatever. But just in particular, and I'm just curious. One of the things that I have seen just in my travels, and I think I talked about this just a few minutes before the camera came on, was a discussion that I overheard where a young black female was talking about all the different ways that she can have sex and the different men, and she's talking about her frustrations and all these different things, but she was talking about all of the sexual things that she can do, etc. It is almost as if, in the past it would be brothers that would talk like this, but now we have females that seem to have taken on the male role. Just kind of want to get your reaction to that.
Well, I don't know how old she is, but it doesn't really matter to me because it seems like a disrespectful conversation that she was having because, one, bedroom talk should be left right there in the bedroom. And to have that kind of conversation in a forum, in a barbershop among men, other women, or whoever she was talking to, I just think is inappropriate, which says a lot about where we are today as a society, thinking that it's okay to talk about things that should be private.
And so what has happened, because obviously that's a breakdown, that's a breakdown, I think, in just our families, a breakdown in our culture. Talk about that for a second.
It's all about respect, self-respect, respect for other people, and if you don't have it for yourself, you're surely not going to have it for other people. So if you don't have the teachings from your family, as you said, if it's not taught at home to respect yourself enough to not go out in public and talk about private affairs, then you don't know any better. So she came in here as she did and talked about sexual acts because she doesn't respect herself. Wow.
Pastor Eric, I got to just swing this to you for a second. Family values, respect. It seems like, particularly in our and it's something I want to deal with too, is culture. But one thing that Minister Ishmael once said is, he talked about how as black people we have developed what's called a subculture. So one of the things in our subculture in our youth, it seems like relationships are just defined by sex. Can you just talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, when you start defining a relationship with just sex, that's just a shaky foundation altogether just to be building any kind of relationship on. Because it's something that is it's natural, and it is a drive. It's something that we all have, but it cannot be used to build a foundation, nor can it sustain any type of foundation. It is an important part, but but it's only one of many parts of a marital relationship. And I think a lot of times what happens is that people forget about the aspect of commitment, whether there's sex or not. I think a lot of times when it comes to relationships, when we talk about that area, what is the priority within the relationship? I think that's one thing that needs to be discussed. The care that both parties have toward one another, making one another a priority. There are other sex is not everybody is compatible when it comes. Well, most people are compatible sexually, in a sense. But what about, I think what gets neglected as part of the foundation are other areas of compatibility, such as goals, ideas, interests. Sharing one another's interests, not just hooking up with somebody and having them care about your interests and your goals and your ideas only. But having that to be reciprocated also, to have that mutual, when it comes to just looking at okay, I respect this person, and I love this person, and I'm going to share in what their goals and what their dreams are just as much as they are doing that to me. And I think that is what's really needed as a foundation. Like I said, that's part of compatibility.
Right.
And with that, also with the major part is with the love and honor. Can you both love one another when the times are difficult? Sex does not do that, because it's like when that's not there and you're having sex, that's all you're doing is just having sex. There's no love in it. So to have sex as a core foundation of what your relationships are, and it's really shaky, and it's not going to last. Because you know what? Somebody's body's going to change.
Wow.
Somebody's going to get tired of just the same thing. And it causes it's just misplacing priorities on what relationships are and what really family is all about.
Now, you just hit on the key point, family. I definitely want to come back to that. Minister Ishmael, I just want to, and I know you've talked about this before, but I always say, as any good teacher, we got to repeat stuff, and sometimes, particularly in our community. One thing, and we've talked about this in the past, I just want to know if you could just touch on this, and that is the subculture. See, because the fact is that our people have, when we look at this whole black male-female relationship, there's so many issues, there's so many dynamics that impact our relationships with each other, particularly when it comes to male-female. And then we leave a legacy of dysfunctional families. Give us a sense of kind of where this is coming from.
Yes, dysfunction comes in many forms in our families. Most of us can all tell a story of being dysfunction some type of way, some type of disruption in the common family structure. Prior to that, we can't go to the origin, where it started at in the family. Because I am a spiritual human being, I'm with the Lost Foundation of Islam, we try to deal with the origin of how these families started being dysfunctional. And we look back at plantation slavery. We go back to plantation slavery. A lot of people say, well, let's look forward. But you can't go forward until you understand where you come from and how you got there. And once you firmly understand that, then you can move forward. So we look at the dysfunction of a man as in plantation slavery. What was his function? His function was to produce more children for the slave master, so that the slave master could accumulate more wealth. Was his function to love these children? No. Care for the woman that he's having these children with? No. In some cases, he had hundreds of children with no attachment at all. The woman, the black woman, a lot of times, she was misused by the slave master himself. He would have children by her, which he had no connection to. So, as we came out of this type of relationship, we still have those type of things in our genes. We still treat the black woman a certain way. We haven't learned to conquer how the slave master had us treating the black woman. Or the black woman hasn't learned how to respect the black man in the highest form of level. So we're still dealing with those issues. And we carry them on to our families. And you see them in my family. In my family, my father was an abuser. He would work, drink, and then beat my mother. You know what I mean? What mentality is that? It's the same mentality of the slave master. When he felt like it, he would beat the black woman. When he felt like it, he would beat the black man. So it carries on in our lives. So what we're trying to do now, what we're sitting and having a conversation about now, is change. Creating our own change, creating our own environment and willingness to change. But dealing with our prior issues and bringing it forth and saying, okay, we can accept it. We can accept it and we're willing to change and deal with it on our own terms. excuse.
Can I say?
Yes, go right ahead, sis.
I just have a question. So, in speaking in terms of, I agree with looking back to
Right.
see where we were and where we're going. But don't you think that most of that is an excuse?
Well-
I mean, because we have so many examples of things to show us that that's not the right way.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's an excuse to me for anyone to say, years ago, men were doing X, Y, and Z, and this is why their cycle is repeated.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you know, there is a reaction to everything we do. So we have to have the knowledge of what caused us to be in a situation. See, what causes a black man to want to walk with his pants hanging down? What causes that? You know, what type of mindset causes a man to want to walk with half of his underwear showing? What causes a man that wants to call a woman outside of her name? A derogatory name. There's a cause there. And if you don't deal with that, you're never going to move forward. You're just going to still be at the same point. So yes, it is an excuse when we say, yeah, well, you know, okay, but you still got to deal with the issue. When you go to the doctor says, what's the matter? I got a pain. How long you had the pain? I had it about 2 days. What region? Well, it's in my side. What he's doing? He's doing a diagnosis. He's doing a diagnosis of your illness. Now he begins to eliminate what the illness possibly can't be. Well, we have to do the same thing with our problems. We have to face the issue of what actually occurred to us. And once we face that, move forward. Get a prognosis. Deal with it and let's move forward. So, yes, a lot of us are going to use it for an excuse. But that don't mean don't deal with it. We still got to deal with it. We still got to deal with the issue that we were brought over here against our will. We were used to make material wealth for people for X amount of years. That's just the truth. We were abused during that time. And once we deal with that, then we can move forward. If we don't deal with it, we go, it's like going to the doctor and saying, well, I really don't know what the problem is. What do you want the doctor to do? You want him to guess?
May I,
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to add to that.
Sure, go ahead.
We talk about black culture, and I think we need to be honest about black culture because it's not really here. You spoke about the plantation, the slavery piece. One of the reasons why that happened and is still going on today is because most of us are operating in a different culture. And that culture is, for lack of a better word, is the Greek or Roman culture. And that Greek-Roman culture produced the behaviors that you're talking about in the concentration camps called slavery.
Yes, sir.
That culture is still here today. Many of us are operating in that culture 8 hours a day, 5 days a week,
Sure.
and think that we can switch out of that and go into something called black culture. Romanticism is the driving force of black male-female relationships. Romanticism is the #1 problem why our relationships are going down the drain. It's the #1 problem why our families have fallen apart, because we don't deal with love. Love and romanticism are not the same. We think that love is in the domain of male and female relationships.
Yes, sir.
It's not. Love is something much bigger than that. The love that we have gotten from the Greeks and the Romans says, if I love you, then it's okay.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
We say, if I love you, then things are fine.
Right.
If I don't love you anymore, guess what? Things are not fine.
Right.
In that equation, love is a pleasure principle. You follow me?
Yes.
It is a pleasure principle. If you make me feel good, I love you. If you don't make me feel good, I no longer love you. This pleasure principle has been the dominant force of our relationships for over 300 years. It's not been love. The other aspect of that principle is that when you say I love, we automatically go into an object. Love stands by itself. Love doesn't need an object.
That's right.
You see? So when you say I love you, what becomes more important in that equation? And not the love. You see it? The I is important, the you is important. The love is not important. The love that's in that middle part comes from black culture. But because we are in the romantic Greek culture, we're dealing with only the I, and we're only dealing with the you.
All right, thank you. I just want to flip something here, because Chuck, I heard you talk about something a little earlier, and this is the owner of this great barbershop here, Chuck Outlaw. Chuck, you mentioned something that I want to kind of touch on. I think brother kind of opened up something here. Love, romantic love, all that good stuff. I remember you were saying not too long ago, you said, you know, when the relationship is good, everything is fine, beautiful, we friends, but man, when things get sour, it ain't easy. Just talk to us about that. Because Chuck, you've been around, and certainly you got a lot of wisdom there, so I just want you just to kind of touch on that.
Well, like, my relationship is cool, but time that we deal with people where here it is, like, if you can't do this, then actually there's no relationship. That's when all the bickering, all the hype, everything started happening, like falling apart. Because like he said, it's like we have nothing like in common other than the material thing.
Right.
No compatibility.
Right.
Because I probably see somebody who I like her for this, I like her for that. Probably like me for financial things. I probably like her because she got a nice, she's pretty, nice body. But that's all false. So things ain't go don't have a strong foundation. So they'll fall apart.